Hello traders, and welcome to this week's session where you'll be diving in with me, Matt, a senior analyst at Prime XBT. Sorry for the minor delay, some technical difficulties, but let's dive right into this week's session. We've got a lot of exciting news that's coming out, especially within the next 25 minutes or so. So I'm hoping that we can catch a bit of volatility in that session itself, as well as trading into New York itself. So that's going to be quite interesting. If you have not already seen on my market updates page, we've got a lot of information coming out with regards to the Japanese yen at the moment. There's a lot of interesting inflation data that's coming out. I'm quite interested to see how this is going to affect the carry trade going forward. We know that we've seen this in the past, and I'm quite eager to see how this might actually affect global markets going forward. So let's dive into a couple of the charts and let's start our trading session today. So if you guys have not already seen, we do a lot of analysis work on our Prime XBT main portal page. Now, if you go over to the market research section, you'll be able to see pretty much everything from both a fundamental perspective, technical perspective, as well as deep diving into various insights that I think are very key for you as traders, especially considering all of the volatility and news events that we've got running at the moment. So if you guys have not already gone and checked out our page, you can do so. I post daily technical analysis postings here. There is some price prediction research as well, and some really in-depth fundamental research that I think is quite key for you as a trader. Now let's head over to the Forex Factory calendar just to deep dive into a little bit more about why I am quite interested to see how these data points are going to come out today. We've got GDP prelim quarter on quarter coming out now. They are forecasting this actual result to come out flat and in line with expectations of 2.8%. And I'm quite eager to see if there is any potential stagflation sort of risks on the horizon. We know over the last sort of quarter or so, we haven't really seen much in terms of growth. We know that inflation has been kind of somewhat giving us signs that there is potential increases. And maybe the Fed does not have in control exactly that 2% target that they are looking for right now. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how the sort of data points are going to kind of play out. That is why I'm also quite key and interested in this core PCE price index month-on-month data point that's coming out this afternoon. Now, we actually haven't seen much increase or decrease in that data point over the last few months. It's been kind of ranging between 0.3% and pretty much flat and in line with expectations. So we need to actually keep in mind exactly how that data point might affect us. And that is quite a key point. Now, it is closely related to inflation. It takes into account a couple of other factors, not really exactly the same as inflation or core CPI itself, but very similar. So these are going to be interesting data points to keep your eyes out on. We've obviously got then the Thanksgiving bank holiday in the US tomorrow, as well as some GDP data coming out for Canada on Friday. Now, we've already seen this week that Trump has announced that they are going to be imposing some potential tariffs on neighboring countries like Canada, and we've actually seen the Canadian dollar strengthen a bit off the back of that, and we've actually seen it also weaken a little bit too. So there's a lot of data points that are coming out that are quite interesting. We've obviously got interest rate decisions that are coming out next week. That is going to be quite key to sort of understand exactly what the Fed is going to do going forward. And I'm very eager to see how this will kind of play out going forward. So let's dive into a couple of the charts and we can go through it. I wanted to start specifically today on the dollar index. Now we've got DXY kind of ranging between this 107,500 range, as well as between currently trading at around 106. So that is quite interesting to see for me personally. I did kind of mark this out in some previous articles that I was interested to see how we would react to this resistance area sitting at around 107, which we actually have rejected quite nicely now and look to be turning down back to the downside. So I am on the weekly time frame. Let's just dive into the daily. I'll be quite interested to see how the dollar index kind of reacts if we start to break down these structure points over here. So that will be my minor internal structure point over there. I would then also have these areas marked out down here. So if price starts to do something like this and break these areas, I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to kind of roll over into the downside going into the new year. It's going to be quite an exciting pair to watch. We know the dollar has seen some tremendous strength over this last year already. There is obviously also talks of Trump kind of bringing back a bit more dollar strength. But I mean, if you look on this week on week, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, nearly 8 weeks of absolute bullish price action to the upside. Now, this has been quite key for the dollar index, and it's obviously affected a lot of neighboring pairs such as euro dollar, USD CAD, etc. So let's dive into a bit of euro dollar and see what's happening there. We did have a couple of areas of interest that I was marking out previously with you guys, and you can also pretty much see how we are kind of in alignment. We know that pretty much the dollar index is obviously making up a lot of composites in terms of currency pairs, and we know that euro makes up a lot of that composite. So when you see sort of inverse correlation pairs like this, you can pretty much see the dollar index is reacting out of, say, a resistance area at around 107. Now that should be correlated to a low area on euro dollar, which we do have over here at around 10050. Now, this has been quite an interesting move. I've actually been quite interested to see if we can potentially get a pullback of sorts. And if you have a look over here, we have some nice sort of target areas above. I would maybe potentially like to see price kind of clear this low before we look for potential longs back to the upside. However, it is not really too clear where price actually wants to go right now. We could be just rebalancing ourselves and into discounted areas before trading lower. So that would be another area that I'd be watching over here, something like this. And I wouldn't be surprised if we traded back into here in the short term and then continue to roll over into the downside. We know that there's a lot of news coming out around the French, German, as well as some other Eurozone factors. And pretty much the euro looks quite weak at the moment. And you can see this pretty much directly inverse to what the dollar index has been doing. So I'm not really too interested in trading euro dollar right now, to be honest. I thought I'd just go over the dollar index. If we do start to maybe get some sort of actual daily flips out of here, I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to hold and push higher, especially out of this weekly zone. So if this was something you were interested in, you could actually potentially play this on the Prime XBT platform. If you have not already actually gone through a couple of the tutorials I've shown, you can pretty much go through all of these factors as well as understanding exactly how to go about it. So maybe just for a bit of a tutorial purposes today, I'm going to actually show you how you could potentially add some buy stops to this. You know, you can pretty much see here we are lining up with around 1.06, which is quite a key psychological level too. So a break above that, we could see some momentum back to the upside. If you have not already done so, you can sign up on our main Prime XBT platform. Here you pretty much have everything in terms of what you're looking for. There is a lot of information here that you can kind of use. Obviously, we've already got all the built-in sort of functions, such as pretty much the referral program, promo codes, affiliate program, contest, whatever you want to be involved in, we've pretty much got it for you. But I want to kind of show you how you can potentially look into buying some euro dollar in this scenario. So if you have a look over here, my account actually is already funded with some funding. And if you have not already signed up an account, you can do so by going to our main landing page. Once you've obviously hit the main sign up, you will then need to obviously make the required transfer into your account. Now we have a couple of options. So if you have a look over here, you can pretty much see you can deposit either via crypto or fiat currency, whatever suits you. And in terms of fundamentals, I'm pretty much open to either sort of transfer options. So whatever suits you. I've got a couple of USD Tether as well as Ethereum and Bitcoin sitting in this account. So you can pretty much see that it effortlessly works. Now I want to show you a key point, and I've shown this in previous sort of live trading sessions as well as my tutorials. This section here where it says transfer, you need to pretty much actually make sure the funding leaves this account and goes into the desired terminal account you'd like to trade from. So what do I mean by that? Well, in this example, we're going to be trading euro dollar. Now, euro dollar is obviously not a cryptocurrency, so it's not going to be sitting on our crypto futures platform, but rather our CFDs platform. So if you have a look over here, you can simply toggle between the various account options we have. You can then choose the desired currency you'd like to send. So let's say, for example, you'd like to say in Bitcoin, or let's say, for example, you'd like to say send USD Tether. You select the wallet address, you select the destination account. In this example would be my CFD trading account. And then you choose how much sort of currency you'd like to move, go confirm. And then over here, you'll see it will say transfer complete. Once you have done the transfer, you can click on the actual CFD trading platform. So if you have a look over here, it'll look something like this. You can actually see our previous NASDAQ buys that we did last week are doing quite well at around $13 profit so far, as well as that Ethereum buy that we had a couple of weeks back too. So those are a couple of examples that I've done with the guys in the past. If you have a look over here, remember euro dollar is a FX pair. So you're going to have to select here. It might be defaulted on all markets. You need to go and change that, right? So yeah, you've got CFD, you've obviously then got crypto, and then you've also got Forex. So if you have a look over here on the Forex section, you can pretty much toggle through all the different FX pairs we have to offer. And if you have a look quite closely, you can see that euro dollar is sitting over here. Now, once I select that option, it will actually pop up like this. This is your terminal. And if you have a little zoom in now, you can pretty much see everything that you need to. So how would you go about doing something like this? Now, actually remember, if I just want to bring up one of my drawing tools. So this is pretty much the same area that we are looking at on our trading view chart, right? So what that basically means is you need to either mark it out yourself. So if you have a look over here, we got around 1.6093, or you can use the platform itself to kind of pick out those areas, and then obviously you can change them depending on where you would like to go. So what I like to do is I actually would like to just set a pending order. Remember, it's not a market order that we'll be doing a stop order. So I'll then click on stop, and I will need to go and change the amount of contracts that I would enter into. So let's say for this example, I'd like to do 100. I'll then need to go change my stop order price entry, right? And let's just say you roughly get it in alignment. You can then go send order, go confirm. And now over here, you can pretty much go and see that this is showing you your entry price, right? And that is exactly what you need to do in terms of getting exactly the point in which you would like to enter set correctly. So if you'd like to change this, you can simply drag and drop this function over here. So let's say you drag it over there. And now let's say, for example, I'd actually like to have some sort of protection orders in place. You would need something like your stop loss set, right? So if I go place stop loss, I can go and simply click here. We already tell you what the low is. So you can see that the low is 1.03312. And if I just go simply change that, right, it will look something like that. So you can see there, I'm only going to lose around $2 if this trade takes me out. So maybe you want to actually manually go and change this. You can simply go and add an additional amount of lots to your order, because remember, this is not an actively live traded order. It is just a pending order. So this can be changed at any given point in time, right? So let's say, for example, I would like to make this around 5,000 contracts. That is around then 2% risk for me. I'd actually be quite interested in doing something like that. I would then like my take profit to be set at a level around 2 to 1. So I'd need to then have that a little bit higher, probably set at around 1.1 flat, if I'm being honest with you. Yeah, so we can even probably push that a little bit higher. There we go. So I then go edit and replace, and I go confirm. And now you'll get a whole lot of notifications that look exactly like this. And that is pretty much telling you exactly how many orders have gone through, as well as where the orders are sitting. Now, if you have a look over here, it's obviously not going to show as an active position. So you'll need to, I'll change it now for you so you can see. So if you have a look over here, you can pretty much now see my active orders section is now sitting over here. And if you have a look quite closely, you can see I have a euro dollar buy pending order of 5,000 contracts sitting at 1.06116, which is over there. And remember, this is a buy stop order. So once price kind of trades into that high, I will then get actively executed in it. And I will then obviously have my stop loss and take profit level set automatically. So how do you view that? If you would like to view that, you can click on where it says 5,000. It will then look something like this. And now you can see my stop loss is sitting below and my take profit is sitting above. And if I want to change that, I can simply drag and drop. You will then get the option to edit and replace the order, or you can cancel the order. So let's say, for example, you wanted to get out of this order. I'm actually personally going to leave this order running because I think it could be quite a good entry. Obviously, in the shorter term, there is no active entries now. However, you can use something like a buy stop order to kind of tag you in when price gets there in the future. So if you wanted to cancel this order, you would need to go over here and click on where it says exit. You would then need to obviously click confirm, and pretty much once that trade is then no longer actually set up and live and running, or actually confirmed, you can then obviously get out of the position like that, right? So that is an example of how you can pretty much get out of the position if you no longer want to enter into it. Maybe you want to double up the size, maybe you want to re-enter with different contracts, then you can just obviously start the whole process again. So for today's tutorial, I'll maybe go down to around 2,500, and I'll keep the same sort of level at around 106,093. I go send order, I go confirm, and I'm actually happy to leave this position just open like this. So when price actually gets to this area and tags me in, I will then obviously get a notification that I'm live and actively trading in this position, right? So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I can see there's a lot of questions coming through in the chat. Thank you so much. Obviously, we have a contest running today, so keep them coming in. I'm very excited to be here with you guys again. It's been an awesome journey so far, so let's keep going. But that is pretty much how I would look to potentially enter into a buy limit entry on euro dollar. We might actually see some volatility this afternoon and potentially get tagged in that order, right? So I'm going to leave that running. That is pretty much my overview and what I'm looking for on the currency side of things. I wanted to also deep dive a bit into the S&P 500, NASDAQ, as well as a bit of gold and oil, right? So we've got a lot to cover. There's about 9 minutes still before we get that GDP data point, and I want to be on the session with you guys live for that. So let's see if we can get some nice results. But this is pretty much an awesome example of what I was showing in our previous sort of live sessions. And that pretty much was as simple as this. You're looking for a couple of things. So you're looking for some sort of expansion move where you pretty much get either say a break in structure where maybe it's an all-time high. So for this example, you would have seen here, it would have been a previous resistance area. You basically then want to see this expansion move like this. You want to see price rebalance itself and continue to trade higher, right? These are my ideal sort of setups that I look for daily. These are setups that are quite profitable and you can obviously use in your favor, right? So how would you then capitalize on something like that? Well, it's quite simple. You would look for price to rebalance itself. What do I mean by rebalance? You're pretty much looking for price to kind of trade to a level, trade 50% back of that level, and then trade higher. So this 50% level over here would obviously just be your stock standard Fibonacci tool. It's quite an easy function to use. And you can obviously then tie into your Fibonacci or discounted areas, a bit of sort of areas of interest. It might look something like that, right? And then what you're looking to do is pretty much get an order entry either on the tag of that 50% like that. You then want to have your stop loss below the previous low, and then you want to target into new highs. So if you have a look now at euro dollar, let's just quickly take you back there. That will look something like this if we can get this expansion move to the upside, right? So there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can either take the market shift entry over here, or you can wait for price to pretty much show you its hands. So let's say, for example, price does something like this. We see an expansion move to the upside. We then see some sort of discount rebalance, and then price continues higher. So if you have a look over here, then how would I mark that out? It would look something like this. And then you can pretty much align yourself with what price action is showing you. So it's quite awesome when you have pretty much a sort of market shift entry like that, and then you can pretty much go into new highs, or you can target different sort of liquidity pockets. So if you have a look now, if we flip back to the S&P 500, and I know I've showed you guys this a couple of times already, but you can pretty much do that by isolating these areas like this. So if you have a look here, I like the daily time frame for these sort of high time frame swing plays. They're really sort of interesting and really key to kind of sort of better strike rates as well as higher profitability. And if you have a look over here, you can pretty much see how price came down, tagged in, and you would get an order entry like that, right? So if you have a look over here, you would basically want to set your order entry something like this. You would then want to have your stop loss below the low, and then you would want to target new highs. So if I had to, this is obviously in bar replay, so if we had to just play this out slowly, you can see how price would have come in, tagged you on the entry, and you would now already be running into, say, the new all-time highs. So it's really cool to see S&P 500 back at new all-time highs, $6,021. And if you had taken the setup that I'd showed in our stream previously, you'd be running a roughly around 1-to-1 risk to reward. So if you put down, say, $20 or $100, you'd be running at around $100 profit right now. So this is the S&P 500. And if you have a look over here, we took something similar on NASDAQ last week in this session. I think it was around here on the Wednesday. It was a bit of a later entry. However, I could already see that the S&P 500 was kind of creating some divergence and pushing into new highs before NASDAQ. So we've obviously seen in the last couple of weeks and months that the S&P 500 has been leading the way in terms of price action and in terms of volatility. So you can often see that NASDAQ kind of lags behind a bit. So that's quite an awesome opportunity to kind of capitalize in. If I just quickly hop back over into our terminal, you can actually have a look here. So the CFD section is where you'll find commodities such as the S&P 500 as well as NASDAQ. If I then click on NASDAQ, you can pretty much see that my entry is sitting at around $20,753, right? And if I click on here, you can see my stop losses there. So what you could do now in a scenario like this, if you wanted to protect yourself, is you could move your stop loss up a little bit higher. That will obviously give you actually now a higher risk to reward, because if price decides to dive from here and move against you, then you will obviously get stopped out for a lesser loss level. So I think in this scenario now, we'll only lose around, say, $50, whereas if I keep my stop loss below this low over here, we would be projected to lose around $90, right? So that's an awesome little trick and kind of little risk management tool that you can use in your day-to-day trading plan. I think it's a really awesome kind of function. And yeah, obviously if you are day trading and you're trading things like CFDs and futures contracts, it's really good to have your sort of risk management down and set to a T. So if we have a look now, gold has been quite interesting. I've been quite wary about gold, mainly because of a couple of reasons. One, we've actually now seen this weekly time frame shift. We've obviously shifted into, say, a POI or a area of interest like this, and we discounted here quite nicely. So we just missed the 50% level of that Fibonacci tool. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we dip our toes a little bit further before actually trading higher. We obviously have this ascending trend line over here too. And remember guys, I do all of these research and technical analysis sort of posts for you on our actual website. So if you have a look here, this is exactly the analysis that I put out yesterday, explaining exactly what I'm looking for and showing you guys what I think could potentially happen. So if you have not gone and checked that information out, it's awesome to see. Go and do so. It's on our main website, right? And that is pretty much what I kind of deep dive into each session with you guys week on week. And if you have a look now at gold, we've actually had this market shift structure breakdown here. So in the shorter term, you could actually look for some potential shorts, something like this, right? And you would almost have your stop loss set above this high, and you would want to maybe trade into lower levels down here. Okay, this would be a bit of a counter trade play in my opinion. Obviously gold has been quite bullish, especially after last week's close. I think we closed almost 5 or 6% up on the week, so it's quite a strong week for gold. Now that obviously comes off a bit of tension and uncertainty in the geopolitical space, and we've obviously seen gold kind of trading quite nicely thereafter. So let's head over now back to Forex Factory just so we can see this GDP quarter-on-quarter announcement. It's coming in now in the next 20 seconds. We've obviously got actual results or forecasted results coming in at 2.8%. Previous month was 2.8% as well. I know prior to that we were down from 3%. So we have seen a bit of slowing growth in the economy, but let's see how this data result plays out now. So these results will be pending, and I'm expecting a bit of a reaction from euro dollar thereafter. So let's have a look. You can actually flip between the two. So euro dollar is obviously over here, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do get a miss on this data point that we're going to get some reactions. So we can already see the euro dollars pushing higher. And if I have a look over here on the 4-hour time frame, let's see how this data point is coming in. Okay, so the data points actually come in flat in alignment with the expectation at 2.8%. So no change for the prelim GDP quarter-on-quarter growth targets for the USD. We also had unemployment claims come out at 213K, just a little bit less than the forecasted, which was in alignment with what was previously happening. So I think for the rest of the session now, we're going to have to turn our eyes towards that core PCE data result coming out later this afternoon. I think that's coming out still in another hour and a half. So we'll have to I'll update you guys depending on how that data result comes in when the actual time happens. So let's get back to gold and then we can wrap up today's session. So if we were to look at something like this on gold, I would be quite interested to see how we would start to react out of levels where we have already previously swept liquidity. If you were looking for a position like this on gold, I'd be very wary to just know that you are very much against the trend. The trend is very much pro-trend bullish at the moment. And if anything, I would actually rather just wait for price action to show me sort of something before trading this pair going forward. So what I mean by that, I'd actually wait for something like this. Pretty much what I was showing you earlier. I would like to see this confirmation that price is obviously trading higher. And then from there, we can pretty much look for some sort of discounted area or pullback into something like that, and then a continuation higher. So how could that look? I'll just quickly clean up my charts a bit for you. So if you have a look over here, this would be your sweep of liquidity over here, and this would be your structure break over there. So price needs to do something like this, and then I'll be interested to look for potential longs. So that might actually happen next week, and we can potentially look into some live trades on gold next week if we can get this reaction. So very similar to what I was showing you on the S&P 500 and NASDAQ. And I would then want to look for price to kind of discount itself in here. I then want to enter something like that, stop loss below, and then look to try and trade into new all-time highs. So personally right now on gold, I'm just going to actually sit on the sideline. I'm going to wait for price to show me its hands and then kind of come back down, potentially trade into new highs. So that is exactly what I'm going to wait for. I will actually set some alert limits on this. And you can do so on your trading view chart by simply right clicking over here where it says alert function. You can add an alert. It'll then give you the option to add it. Once you have then got the setting up and running, you can go choose on when it says crossing up. So basically when price trades above $2,786, we will then get a notification to say that we are in this position and we can look for potential pullbacks. So that is all from me today. I'm going to keep you guys posted on the core PCE data points that are coming in later. Remember to get in those questions this is your last time to do so. I will go through them as soon as I can, and we can also deep dive into them a bit more on our next session next week. So thanks all for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in next week's session.